Welcome to my channel. I'm
Oh,
Elizabeth Liz Muschett, and today it's the Astrology Star Sisters talking about the snake year and your animal sign, part 2. And my guest and Astrology Star Sister and friend is Jennifer Ning. Welcome, Jennifer. How are you today?
good. Thank
Can you hear
you.
me? Oh,
Nice to see
good.
you. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So we're going to get started with the slides. Um, Jennifer's website is jeningress.com, and my website is alightpath.com, and we enjoy hearing from you. And I'll let you begin.
Perfect. So today is the day of the wood tiger. We're in the metal month or the month of the metal dragon, and we are in the wood snake year and the hour of the metal horse. So, what does this mean for today's presentation? Well, being of the hour of the horse likes to talk a lot, and this is a good time because we're on a podcast and we're going to talk about it. And the tiger is about excitement and just jumping into things. And the tiger and the dragon and the horse are quite powerful, very yang animals. And the horse and the tiger, if you remember in the previous episode, we touched on a dragon and snake. So this is like a good month to talk about metaphysical, spiritual topics like astrology. And the horse and the tiger get along well together. Do we have the slides? Perfect. The year of the wood snake brings emphasis on timing, priorities, networking, and there's a duality. And last part one, we touched on six of the animals. We touched on the tiger, monkey, snake, and pig, as well as dragon and ox, ox, yes, and then the ox. So today we're going to focus on rat, rabbit, horse, and dog.
Are you going
And
to do the goat also?
oh yes, the goat today as well. And we're going to cover use a different principle, which is a fundamental principle of the four pillars, which is the five phases or elements of not just Chinese astrology, but traditional Chinese medicine, feng shui, acupuncture, martial arts. It's a pervasive fundamental concept called the Wu Jing, or the five transients or phases. And if we can go to the slide with the next slide. So in the each four pillars, Batji means 8 characters because we have 4 pillars, and each pillar has 2 components: an element, which is what we're going to talk about, and those are called the heavenly stems, and then an animal. So each individual has 4 different animals that are represented in the year, month, day, and hour that they're born. Sorry about that. And each animal also carries an element. And the interaction of these elements is very important. If we can go to the next slide, the 5 elements or phases, they have a transformational relationship. So on the outer pentagon, we start with wood, and the wood element is about growth and progress. It's a very academic focused curiosity, and it can be thought of as the first 12 years of an individual's life. So if we think of our development from birth to age 12, those are like huge changes from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 4 to 8. Like an individual when they're 4 is so drastically different by the time they're 8, and from 8 to 12. So from that period of 0 to 12, that it can be thought of as the period of wood, and that is highly creative because it's the beginning, like a creation phase, and it's fast growing. And the wood element can be represented by a really huge upright growing tree like a sequoia tree, maple tree. And then it can also be represented by a blade of grass or shrubs or vine. And wood feeds fire. So if you think of those who like to camp or even a match, you need kindling or wood to spark and create fire. And fire can be represented by uh, the burning sun or a candle flame or incense or twilight or moonlight. And then once the fire is extinguished, fire gives rise to earth because after we have fire, we have ashes, and that's earth. And earth can be symbolized by, like the Rocky Mountains or clay or soil, pottery. And then from earth, we get metal. So we mine the earth to get our metals and minerals, and metal can be symbolized by an axe or a sword, or raw iron, as well as fine jewelry like earring clasps or rings, or if you think of fine needles, like dentistry tools. Like if you go to the dentist and you get your teeth scaled and cleaned, those fine metal tools. And then from metal, metal creates water. So if you think of a cool early morning, you have condensation forming on a cool metal surface. And water can be represented by fast, rapid moving water like Niagara Falls or the ocean, salt water, as well as fine mist or dewdrop or a gentle pond or fresh water. And then
It,
water creates wood. Yeah.
oh, sorry. um, I'll let you finish with wood and or the water to wood, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay. And then water gives rise to wood. We a plant and tree, its fundamental nutrients to survive is water. And so that's the creation cycle on the outer, and that's a relationship. And then on the inner one, there are control relationships. If I can quickly go through them, water extinguishes fire, and fire controls metal because if you think of somebody who works with metal, they have um, a torch to heat the metal and be able to make it malleable. And then metal, like the axe, will chop wood. And then wood grounds earth because with erosion, they'll plant trees and control erosion. And then earth controls water. If you think of a riverbank, the river follows the bank, the pathway that is bound on both ends by the ground. And
You,
so
men-
we have these relationship cycles of the 5 phases. So wood can transform and become fire, and fire can transform and become earth, and so forth. Is
so
that a
you had
question?
said wood was associated up to 12 years old. Do the other elements have an age that
Yes.
relates to them?
Yeah, good question. So fire phase is from age 12, so adolescence, to 24. And apparently adult or youth is now extended a little bit longer, even though legal age is depending on what legally is allowed. Like 18 here is the age to vote, so that's like legally being an adult. But really they have found, research is that the brain doesn't really fully reach maturity until about 24, 25. And I think the offspring of the baby boomer generation, I think there's been almost like a delayed maturization compared to, the Pluto and Cancer generation where they had to like serve in the war when they're like 18 or 19, like 20, I think that generation really, compared to like the offspring of baby boomer generations and so forth, I think there's such a difference in adulthood or maturity of those different generations because of the hardships that, the Great Depression and World War One and Two, um, exposed people to. So from 12 to 24 is still a period of expansion. So the fire, a bonfire will grow and it expands. It needs oxygen and it expands. So from 12 to 24, there is still creativity and growth, but it's not as drastic as from infancy to 12 years old. For example, when you're 18 to 24, you're still changing, but from 18 to 24, that's like 6 years. That difference of development is not as pronounced, I don't think, as from like when you're 6 to 12 years old. And,
Exactly.
and in that period, you're discovering or fine tuning a little bit or narrowing down a little bit, figuring out who you are, what people want to do after they finish high school. And they can still change. There's still, because fire can adjust. It can grow, it can go in different directions. But from 24 to 36, that's often the period where people settle down, find a partner, or they're on a career path. And they can still change. There's still areas, there's still, you can still kind of change, 90 degrees to go from like an IT field to speech pathology, or like you can still leave what you thought you started from your, 24 to 28, and you can still go in and embark on another new path. But from 36 to 48, it's harder. You're in the metal phase, and you've um it's a period of solidification and focus. And the metal element, metal is rigid. It's not malleable like soil or like earth can be. And then from 48 to 60, you're completing this 60-year phase, and the metal phase prepares one for reflection and inner wisdom. And then there's often the term zoomer, from 60, people can retire or quote retire from the main career, and it's almost like there's a rebirth. There's like a new discovery because the individual has gone through this cycle of infancy, adolescence, adulthood, maybe having offspring, and then they're like kind of in the fall winter phase of their life, but they don't have the responsibility of rearing young children. If they had children, their children are hopefully grown and independent, but these days, who knows? um, and there's this like inner childlike quality of rediscovering like new freedoms.
So after
That makes
60 days,
sense.
it start to repeat or not really?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I like that, but on a whole different level, I would
Right,
assume, because
right, and we can kinda tie this, or, there's a parallel to, like, the Chiron return, which is within that water phase, because depending on the individual, the Chiron return is around 50, but
yes.
so these follow the Jupiter cycle time periods.
Oh, I like that. Thanks.
And so each animal, if you look at the outer wheel, if you look at where you see the animal, So if we are dead at 12 o'clock, right before 12 is the snake, and then at towards 1 o'clock is the horse. But the animal cycle starts at uh, going counterclockwise. The rat is blue. So so here's the circle right here. I don't know if there's a pointer, but the
No, I don't
rat.
have a pointer,
Okay.
so
But
is the
if you
rat
look,
at
yeah,
the
if you look at
bottom?
6 o'clock going to clockwise, that's the rat, and that's blue. So rat
Okay,
and pig is uh, going counterclockwise, so the blue is the water. And then you'll see yellow right after water. And then you'll see green, which is tiger and rabbit. And then the dragon is yellow. And then snake is red with horse. So that's fire. And then goat is yellow, which is earth. And then metal is monkey and rooster. And then we have dog, which is earth. And then we're back to pig. So those colors, blue is water, yellow is earth, green is wood, red is fire, and white is metal.
oh, that's so
And that's
interesting.
the
I
diagram.
didn't realize that, so I'm
Yes.
learning. I love this.
So those are the elements, and inside of that circle are the is the magic square for the feng shui sectors, and each sector also has associated its elements. So south is fire, north is water, east is wood, and west is metal.
So interesting. Thank you. And then the ones that, like, come out of that circle kinda look like a house, those are um, the I Ching symbols, right?
Oh, yes, those are the trigrams.
Okay.
Yes. So in each individual's four pillar chart, they have one of these elements in the heavenly stems, which are the top part in each pillar. And then they have an animal. And the really cool thing is the animal also carries or is associated with one of the elements that we just went through. So rat is water, ox is earth, tiger and rabbit are wood, dragon is earth, snake and horse are fire, goat is earth, monkey and rooster are metal, dog is earth, and pig is water. So what I'm going to go over today is interpret one aspect using this technique to give a sense of what the wood snake year elementally, how that influences the rat, rabbit, goat, dog, and horse.
Thank you.
And one thing I didn't touch on yet is the elements for the 2025 wood snake. And in each of the elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, there is a yin and yang or yang and yin expression. So there's actually 10 choices for the heavenly stems. So in the we can stay on this slide, but in that one with
Oh,
the four pillars, each element is going to be like if you have, it's not just wood, it's either yang wood or yin wood, and it's not just fire, it's yang or yin. And so for the 2025 wood snake, we are in a yin, we have the yin wood as the heavenly stem. And like I said just a few moments ago, the snake carries the fire element. And if we apply that pentagon, we know that wood feeds fire. So this year, the heavenly yin wood, which is depicted with the vines, feeds fire. And because the snake is of a fire animal, it's enhancing the qualities of the snake. So that's why I put for this year, it's about timing and prioritizing, a focus on managing your money. The snake individual is careful about how they spend. They'd like to spend, but they are very what's the word I'm looking for? Particular in their tastes. And the taste that the snake has is it's got to be authentic quality. So this is a year where people are going to be influenced to spend more wisely on things that they feel are authentic and worthwhile versus just, sometimes we go to the store and we come home and like, why did I spend money on this? And like what's like all these little trinkets or knickknacks versus going in and paying a little bit more for something that's quality and that's going to last longer. Now that is, I think, more difficult to find in since after World War II, there's a marketing or business concept called planned obsolescence, which things were designed to purposely fail so that consumers would have to buy more and buy again. So it is still possible to find quality products that do last longer, but I think there's a lot more lightning fashion or whatever they call it, flash fashion, where it's like you buy a t-shirt and it probably like melts apart when you put it in the wash the first time. You wear it and it's already like breaking at the seams. Like that's not what the snake is about. It's about buying maybe something higher end that should last because of quality. And the
Okay,
snake
that
is
makes
also about
sense.
timing. So, just to reiterate, the animals that we're going to focus on today is the in terms of the elemental analysis for the animal. Rat is of water, rabbit is of yin wood, and rat is yin water. Horse is yin fire. Goat is yin earth, and dog is yang earth. And so, how does the wood oh, we can stay on that slide, I think, just a little bit longer. How does the yin wood snake influence or impact the fact that the rat is of a water element? Well, if we refer back to the pentagon or the star of control, water falls water gives rise to wood, and then water also puts out fire. So for the rat individual, the rat individual qualities are one of highly creative and imaginative. Rat with ox together form a creative pair of animals. But the rat individual, their mouse, is kind of similar in a way to the snake because they're both animals that are more comfortable hiding. Like we don't see the rat just lazing about in the middle of the night or the middle of the day, waiting for an owl to pick it up. Like it's scurrying whenever it's leaving its home, it's scurrying out for the cheese. It's like it's traveling. It's like protecting itself. And the snake to some extent as well. Some snakes can be out in the open sunning, but they are often just, they could be in the grasses and hiding. So I think animal wise, there are compatibility between the rat and the snake. But in terms of element, I think this might be a harder year for the rat in the sense of the rat is going to be called to give of it of itself. So because wood is the expression of water, I think this is a year where the rat has a lot of opportunity to showcase its creativity, ideas. It's also very resourceful. And so this is a year that rat individuals will be able to survive. in because this is about survival because of the yin wood heavenly stem. So I think that supports the rat characteristics of being thrifty and resourceful, but at the same time the water element uh exhausts, or water puts out fire. So this might be a year for an individual has like water. um Fire is their money. So this will may have a year of money, either like having to manage it or making more of it, or just um focusing on that aspect. So this, because the rat needs its private time. It is very charming and can be very social, and it's an observer, but it also needs its alone downtime and time to get lost in their imagination. But this might be a year, if there are rat individuals who are working on any writing or projects, this is like a good time to get it out there, share it, have people know about it, and it could make them some money.
Well, and the commonality that I see with rat and snake, they're very low to the ground because we
Hmm.
don't commonly see snakes in the trees or even rats for that matter, even though I think a rat can climb a tree, but
Yeah, and they're quieter, they're quiet animals, like more observant, unlike say a horse or um, and by the way, rat and horse are animals that are quite opposite to each other. So for this slide, I want to talk about the rabbit that is of a yin wood element. And so that heavenly stem of yin wood for this year of 2025 is reinforcing or mirroring the element of the rabbit. Now, one aspect could be competition for the rabbit, because if you like, especially if the rabbit, or if you have a heavenly stem of yin wood, that could indicate competition. The rabbit is also another, what's the word I'm looking for? A low key animal. It's kind of difficult to read. It's not um, outwardly as expressive as, say, um, like say a monkey. If you look at a bunny, like most bunnies, they kind of have the same expression, right? Their ears are usually up, and they're like, they got their face on the side, right? If you look, like Easter's coming up, you go to the store and they've got those chocolate bunnies. Well, I love bunnies, and it's no disrespect to like real bunnies, but they often do look like that expression on the chocolate, like chocolate, right? Like that's the bunny typical expression. I mean, bunnies can have a defense where their ears go really far back, and apparently they can jump and really kick you hard. I was reading, like, for volunteering, if at like humane, like the animal rescue, if you don't want to get too close to a rabbit, because they could really like thump you in the face with their 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 legs. And rabbit individuals are similar, not exactly, but they have some similarities to the rat in that they can be very charming and graceful. Rabbit is indirect. It's going to be more sidestepping. It's not going to really say no to your face. It's just going to maybe change the topic, or say, I'll think about it, or distract. Now, the rabbit in real life, its burrow has multiple exit points. So the rabbit is an individual that is always at least got one alternative plan, like not just a plan B, but a C and a D. And because of that, it's also a very resourceful and thrifty animal, and also needs some quiet downtime. It could also be a very self-expressive, time for the rabbit because wood feeds fire, and so this might be a time if the rabbit makes a really good friend, and the snake can also be a very good counselor and teacher. So this year may be a mix, for not so much a mix for the rabbit, but it might have some competition as well as, creativity, like, expressing itself, and it might like, the rabbit individual also likes to take care of its health, particularly with respect to food. So if the rabbit likes to cook, or that's a form of creativity, that could be a year for those rabbits who are into health and cooking. If they're looking for a business or a product related to their business, like a cookbook or nutritional plans, this is a good year for that. Now, I think this is a mixed year for the goat and the dog, from the perspective of that each of these two animals are of the earth element. And we know that, and I'm saying it's mixed because fire feeds earth. So, in some way, the snake element may boost the earth element of the goat as well as the dog, but wood also grounds the earth element. So there may be something to do with people who have more authority or power over you, like your boss, or it could do with like a promotion of some sort, or something to do with like your ancestors or your parents or guardians. And the goat individual, its opposite is the ox, and the goat individual is considered to be one of the animals that Buddha or um, the creative power blesses, because the goat has the most gentle and good natured heart. Its philosophy is live and let live.
Mhm.
And it needs that philosophy applied to the goat. It's the quintessential kind of rock star. Like, it's highly creative, but in order to get that kind of work done, like compose music or do what it needs to do, it needs a low pressure environment. It doesn't do well in structure, whereas the ox is all about structure and schedule. If you think of the ox, if you remember, the ox is one that tills the soil, and it's working at like 3 a.m. till like from before sunrise to the end of, to dusk. And so this can be a time where the goat feels and the dog feel more empowered or stronger vitality wise because of the fire element. But it's a year to try to be in balance, because the wood is um the fire increases the earth element and the wood kind of decreases it. So this could be a mixed year or just like an even keeled year for the goat and the snake. And dog, for the dog is a very loyal animal, and it is vigilant. So the dog likes to also take likes to be more in the back end scene, whereas the tiger and the horse are very good being at the forefront. And the dog, tiger, and horse, they form a very compatible trine, similar to the ox, rooster, and snake. They form a business triad. The horse, dog, and tiger, they form uh, a triad of communication and action. So the
Nice.
dog alerts, and then the horse will announce to the tiger, and the tiger just leaps in and deals with the crisis. So, traditionally, like the snake and the goat, and the snake and the dog, as well as the snake and the rabbit, they don't really have um, relationships like best or worse or lucky, like together they're lucky. Um, but I think there's qualities in the goat that can complement the snake, because the snake is about timing and it can be quick to react, and the goat is all about not being structured. So there is like a degree of um, unpredictability, but not in the same way necessarily as the unpredictability of the dragon or the tiger. Um, but both their own need to be able to operate on their own sense of timing versus um, an outer imposed timing um, timing deadlines. And the dog is also not the dog is tends to be a very social animal, but it can also be comfortable, um, like not be doesn't need to be in the spotlight. And so that is somewhat similar to the snake at times. And the dog is quite modest, whereas um the snake does like things that are appreciated. And then lastly, we get to the horse. And I think I told the story. Did I tell the story about the animals?
I'm not sure. What
Uh,
story was that?
um, how the 12 animals came to be. I'm not sure if I did that I don't think I did it in the part one, but I'm not sure if I did it in the like forecast for the year, but I can quickly summarize it. The order of the animals um, comes is told has a folklore story that lots of children are exposed to, that I was exposed to as a kid, and I love this story still. And basically, the Buddha or the Jade Emperor or the heavenly supreme announced to the kingdom that it was going to create a 12-year calendar, and each year would be in honor of one of the 12 animals. And all the animals were like, oh, so excited upon hearing this news, because the 12 spots would be determined by a race. And at that time, cat and rat were best friends. And cat, knowing itself, likes to sleep and sleep in, said to rat, make sure you wake me up before the race starts. And rat said, yeah, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And so rat, being a nocturnal animal, wakes up early and sees cat sleeping and doesn't wake cat up and starts on its journey. Now, the final leg of this race to get to the Jade Buddha, the Jade Emperor, is to cross a river, like a set of rapids. And rat came across ox, and rat, knowing ox can swim and rat not being a swimmer, negotiated with ox to catch a ride across the river. In exchange, he would sing a song, or in some different versions he would play the little flute, and that really appealed to ox. So ox said, okay. So you have these little pictures of like ox swimming in the river and rat sitting like right on his head. And right as they got to the finish line, the other side of the bank, rat quickly jumped off ox's head and secured first place. So that's why rat is the first animal in the order of the zodiac, and ox comes next. Tiger, being an early rising animal and being very agile and quick, finishes third. Now, rabbit, was can't really swim, but there were these little rocks, and it was like hopping from rock to rock to get to the other side, and slipped and was kind of just hanging on to this little driftwood. And dragon, being a mystical animal, it can fly. And it doesn't have, the Chinese dragon is very unique. It doesn't have wings, but it was delayed because everybody thought like, oh, dragon, it's going to be first for sure because it's like the most majestic animal and it can fly. But it stopped on its way to help some villagers, and then it saw rabbit struggling on this driftwood and gave a little puff to help rabbit get across. So rabbit came next, and then rabbit was dragon was fifth. Now, horse was on its way and about to cross, but it noticed that snake was like wrapped around its hoof, and it startled horse. So snake kind of slithered in and got sixth place, and horse came next. So that's kind of part of the story. Meanwhile, goat, rooster, and monkey collaborated together on a raft. And then finally, dog and pig were on their way, but dog saw a pond and decided to play. And pig found some apples and decided to eat some and have a snack and fell asleep. And then pig woke up and was, oh my gosh, I better get on my way. And finally arrived, and luckily there was still one spot left, and pig got that one. Now, meanwhile this is happening, cat finally wakes up and realizes, oh my gosh, it's like daylight and rat's not there, and cat has to go through the rapids. And you know how cats hate water, it rides sopping and 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 not happy at all. And it's like, Jade Emperor, is there still a spot? And the Buddha, Jade Emperor, says, I'm sorry, cat, but all the spots have been taken. And upon hearing that, cat pounced immediately at rat. And from then on, cat and rat have always been enemies. Or that is why the cat likes to chase the rat. So if we go back to the horse slide, the horse is the seventh animal, and it is of a fire element. And so this could be a year where it it is both reinforced, but also is expressive because fire feeds wood. So, and now next year is going to be yang fire in the horse year. And so we're going to have a lot of fire next year, with the horse being fire, and the next heavenly stem after yin wood is going to be yang fire. And so there's going to be just a lot of fire in the universal energy of February 2026. So the horse is a very powerful animal. It's one to do with freedom. And so the horse may be compelled to be more free and expand, as it normally likes to do, and be independent and have leadership. But and as well, it's a good year for the horse to put get those projects or business plans or goals out there, because it's another year to express itself. And it could be a year like for those individuals of the rat, horse, rabbit. It could be the element of expression is, it also could be related to children, because children is creativity. So for those individuals who are wanting to have a family, that could be another way to express oneself, is not necessarily like through writing a book or making a movie, but it could also be offspring, like literal offspring. So that's what I have for today. It was a little longer than I thought.
Well, thank you. It was wonderful. I learned a lot and I so appreciate it. And I thank you for being here today, and I look forward to having you back on and talking more about Chinese astrology. I want to thank those that joined us live today and those that come back and watch us at a future time. Um, we look forward to having you. If you want to find out more about Chinese astrology, contact Jennifer for a consultation. And her website is jeningress.com. Would you like to tell us about your slide here?
Yes, if you're interested in a consultation or taking courses, you can get in touch with me. And I have some speaking events coming up in the next following months. Oh, and there is
Thank
an OPA Canada panel on Sunday, April the 27th, because I'm in Canada and we have a federal election. And so we have a panel of 4 Canadian astrologers. Canada's bilingual. So we have Vincent Godbout, Martha Patterson or MJ Patterson, Nick Dagan Best, and Lorian Ruger. And she has a great Canadian astrology website called Canada A that is like focused on the provinces and Canadian leaders. So that is going to be on the eve of our federal election, which is Monday, April 28th. So if you're an open member, even if you're not in Canada, you're welcome to also join, and you can join OPA if you're not a member and attend for free.
Sounds very interesting. Hopefully I can attend. I just
Oh,
have to check my
yes.
calendar.
I will be moderating, one of the moderators.
Oh, that sounds good. Oops. And then, like Jen said, we both do consultations. We both have newsletters. So we appreciate you contacting us or subscribing to our newsletters. And other upcoming shows with Astrology Star Sisters are decans using astrology and tarot, dwarf planets, fixed stars, planet stationing, Uranian astrology, and Venus star point. And new shows are the cosmic connections with relationship astrology and magical astrology. And there's still a few 2025 astrological highlight shows to complete. And Justin and I do the astrology forecast and the full moon forecast each month, and from time to time, the Chiron asteroid series. I will be on Talk Cosmos on April 27th at 1 p.m., talking about the Taurus new moon and imagining the future. You can watch it live here or come back later and watch it at your convenience. Oops, that's not supposed to be on there.
Can I
Sorry
just
about that.
quickly mention for the OPA on Sunday, April 27th, that is going to be 1 p.m. Eastern. So that will be before your Talk Cosmos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Thanks. Okay, and then again, Jennifer's website is jeningress.com and my website is alightpath.com. And I want to thank all of you for your support and for joining us together. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. And I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thanks, Jen, and we'll see you
My pleasure.
soon.
Bye, everyone.